So I immediately had to start working to just support my younger sister and my mom. And we were hopping houses. I was begging my friends to let me stay in their rooms. It was rough. And
I know what it's like to couch surf, buddy.
Yeah.
Trust me.
And collecting cans just to pay that rent bill every month. Like really like struggling with stress at the end of each month with anxiety. And I say that because there's so many people out there that might have that same issue. Like it was fearful. I had to borrow money. I had to ask my employer to borrow money. It was a rough time. Yeah. So I stumbled across mobile homes and I was like, shoot, what I thought mobile homes were, I was like Eminem music videos where it's just trailer trash, for drug dealers, whatever. And
that's the stereotype.
That's exactly.
That's the perception of, of a trailer park.
Yeah. And come to find out, like people don't know there's over 60 mobile home parks sprinkled throughout this county. It's nice to be able to help so many people in San Jose, and we've opened in LA and done a lot of that stuff and work with them directly. And just like you, we want to help more and more and grow that avenue as much as we can.
It's Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.
All right, welcome back. We are here, Mauricio Mejia live inside of Studio B in the heart of Silicon Valley, downtown San Jose. That's right. And today I get the pleasure of talking one of my favorite topics, real estate development, and also a very hot topic right now, not only here in California in the Bay Area, but across the nation, is affordable housing. So today we get the honors of speaking with you, Franco Perez in the house. What's up, bro? Not only that, bro. You were producing some dope content back then. What's going on? We got to get you back up.
I know. I was just thinking of that too.
Your new home now. You're more than welcome to come use our studio for whatever you want to do.
Appreciate that, man.
Let's get it going, man.
I love it.
You definitely have made an impact in the past. You continue to do that now. And
thanks, man. That's kind words. Well, first off, beautiful studio you guys got here.
Thank you.
It is amazing. This isn't just the only setup. People should know about it.
Yeah.
Second is, I was just telling you off camera that how important this podcast is. This is actually something that we both share a passion about. Yes. It's like bringing that energy for small business owners, those that want to chase building a business. Like it's underrated how valuable this podcast is because some people.
Thank you for saying. I don't look at it that way, right? Because I'm just going, producing.
Yeah.
But thank you, because that's really what the core of this is to share the stories and the journeys that. Not only, we all start small.
Yeah.
No one just wakes up and says, "Oh, I'm a big business today." We got to start somewhere, and then eventually you graduate and you grow.
Yeah.
So,
and you're a living example of that, and it's amazing, But like, there's business owners. It's kind of a lonely world, right? And
very lonely.
You can only exactly.
It comes with its perks, but it's a lonely world.
So you get your inspiration from only a few famous people, but it's really cool here because you feature people locally to the Silicon Valley, and it's like, shoot, the more I hear a beautiful story like the Nirvana Soul one you did or whatever, it's like, man, you know what? They did it. I feel like maybe I should pursue this, right?
We're doing Jackie's too. They're opening up. That's the idea. One is to embrace. You got to start in your own backyard.
Yeah.
Right. You got to get embraced by your other fellow entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of women have taken charge and are getting in. Their entrepreneurial spirit has exploded.
Oh, totally.
And I want to be able to showcase that.
Yeah.
But. It's been an interesting journey, and I continue. That is what continues to fuel me, is to see them enjoy being on camera or being on the mic and then being able to see that they're what we talked about being now shared with the world because we're global now. So it's
exactly
it's global,
and you give them a platform to be able to like boost their success and their hard work. So shout out to you for killing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Well, I'm inspired. I am. There's a lot of great people that have inspired me. One of my favorite all times, obviously, is the number one king of all, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I've wanted to model it from, is that get that energy, that vibe, do it on the highest level, and invite guests from different levels as well. But I think, again, the core of this is getting homegrown.
Yeah.
And then eventually it'll just springboard and just explode into.
Oh, you're killing it. You got your books. You got your,
yes.
I know you're a big fan of Tony Robbins too. So
super.
He's changed my life, honestly.
Yeah.
So like, it's cool. Psychology is a big thing, and your book, like, that's another thing that you do, that's a big deal. So
Thank you.
Cool.
I my first influence or my first experience with Tony Robbins, I was 15 years old. I was a kid. And that's kind of what woke up my entrepreneurial spirit is he used to have these infomercials. And one of his slogans was, where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I'm this kid, and I'm growing up with a single mom. I'm in LA, in the hoods of LA.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, damn, well, if there's a will, there's a way. And it just kind of embedded in my head. It kind of sounded like a little silly song, and I kind of played it over in my head, and then just started waking whatever up inside. And
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And in a way, you're that for someone else too.
Yeah.
Like that, I kind of had a similar story when my parents split up. I had to support my single mom and everything. And Tony Robbins kind of helped me break that psychology. I was going to downward spiral, like really bad, but understanding like psychology really saved me and allowed for me to grow and kind of help other people too. So.
Well, let's dive into it. I know we just jumped right because we came in hot like that. But give us a little background, born and raised, and then a little bit background of your family, your parents,
sure.
and siblings, and all that. I mean, really, we want people to know to know who you are, and see how it resonates. Because for some people, it's going to resonate.
Yeah.
And then something the intent here is that if we can do it, everyone else is watching can do it too.
Absolutely.
And there's no excuse. There's really no excuse. I'm just in today's culture, we're starting to see that we got to execute. I wrote a book on decide, commit, execute. It's make a decision, commit to it, and execute. And right now, everyone just kind of is scrolling. Everyone is putting titles because they think it's cool. But no one's executing.
Yeah, everyone's building the idea. I'm like, I'm just waiting for that right moment. But your book talks about how important executing is. I love that.
Thank you for reading my book. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you're good. You're a great guest. You're coming back.
Oh man.
So go for it. Let's dive into that.
Well, I guess a bit about myself. I grew up at a young age in the Philippines. I remember growing up from a really small town in the Philippines, and I say that because it's such.
I only know the bad words, by the way. That's all my Filipino friends.
Same for me in Spanish.
Only teach me the bad words. I'm like, come on, guys, teach me something nice, like how to be nice to the parents or something.
Exactly. But I think coming from that space, it kind of helped me understand like entrepreneurship and grit and kind of like being resourceful. I think is a big word that for a lot of business owners that make them successful. But with that. Moved over from the Philippines. My parents immigrated, me and my younger sister here. We grew up moving a lot between Sacramento and the Bay Area. And long story short, there was
you were born in the Philippines?
I was actually born in Reno.
Okay.
They couldn't take care of me, so they basically shipped me back to the Philippines. I grew up with my grandparents over there.
In a container. They just put you in a container and shipped you back. Wow.
I don't know how I got there, but I grew up with my grandparents.
You haven't asked the question, huh? You're like, I don't even want to know. I got shipped back to the Philippines.
Exactly.
Okay.
They were working on their visa and everything here, and in order to do that, they had me grow up with my grandparents. So I grew up with my grandparents over there.
All right.
And then once they were stable, they shipped me back.
Yeah. Put you in another container and shipped you. Wow.
Exactly.
All
so
right.
me and my sister got back here.
You got some definitely childhood traumas there, buddy. Jesus. Wow.
No, honestly, though, I loved my life in the Philippines.
Nice.
I think, there's so many things that are beautiful about there. Even like the people, if they have nothing, they're so grateful and happy. And there's something to learn from that.
Yeah.
Like growing up there was amazing. But yeah, my parents like built themselves up from an immigrant family out here. And kind of in the 07, 08 years, there was like this housing crash, right? So my parents were so dependent on money and stability, and basically they split up. My dad kind of left us and ditched us and said, hey, I'm going to leave you guys and I'm going to be better off without you guys. And my mom, that hurt
I mean,
a lot.
I grew up, I don't want to say my dad used those words, but I grew up without a father present. But we reconciled our as I got older, we got to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But that's a tough one, man.
It is.
Yeah.
And imagine growing up as a kid and this is your biggest role model ever and he just leaves you, right? And I was 16, 17 at that time. And, my mom didn't really work much at that time. My dad was the main breadwinner. So I immediately had to start working to just support my younger sister and my mom. And we were hopping houses. I was begging my friends to let me stay in their rooms. It was rough. And
I know what it's like to couch surf, buddy.
yeah,
Trust me.
And collecting cans just to pay that rent bill every month, like really like struggling with stress at the end of each month with anxiety. And I say that because there's so many people out there that might have that same issue. Like it was fearful. I had to borrow money. I had to ask my employer to borrow money. It was a rough time. And I never wanted that for my sister to ever have to experience again too. I loved media. I loved video. My dream was to be a videographer actually, but I was doing video flyers for a real estate company. Did that for a while. I begged for a raise. They didn't give me a raise. They're like, but I'll teach you how to sell. I ended up doing real estate, a door knock, cold call, desperately just in survival mode. And I did really well as an agent. So I did that. I did, but once I was financially stable, I really observed myself and I really hated being a real estate agent because deep down inside, I felt like I was just helping the rich and wealthy get their second or fifth
more
home.
Rich and wealthier.
Exactly. But
so let me, I got to slow you down because I got to hit the timeout button here.
I love it.
One, because you've gotten into a deep part, but let's give a little background.
Yeah.
Education. Did you complete school? What's the deal there? Because you just jumped to career, and I was like, I want to know what happened in that gap.
Oh, good question. I mean, I was kind of an average kid in school, and I'll be honest with you, I was kind of like more of a coasting student. Like I didn't have the grit actually, and I basically went to high school, a little bit of college for like less than a year, and then I had to drop out and work full time. Okay, but I say that I wasn't that ambitious in high school, but I'll be honest with you. As soon as my dad left and I was in this survival mode, a switch just flipped in my head. I was like, shoot.
Fight or flight, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't just for me to survive, but it was more to support my younger sister, honestly. Like that to me, like made this really big like drive to make sure she was safe. Like
you guys still are you guys very close?
Yes.
Today? Okay,
yeah.
cool. All right.
So now it's just me and my younger sister.
What does she do?
And my mom. She's into like event space and she helps like hotels and connecting event planning.
Hello,
stuff.
we're gonna have to bring her here now. She's gonna be our next guest. I want to talk about hey, we have a space here, Studio B.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea.
Come on.
Yeah, I love connecting. She'll probably have a lot of people to connect you with. Actually,
there you go. Perfect.
But yeah, no formal education really, but most of the education was through podcasts and like YouTube. Everything I learned was on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube University.
Yeah. No. And I think back to that word I said earlier is the resourcefulness is what really I feel allowed for me to grow, and I didn't have that resourcefulness until that fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, like. I want it back to kind of where I was, and feel free to divert me. I talk a lot sometimes.
Yeah, no. I'll bring you back to where I cut you off. Don't worry. But I just want to keep adding to it because I think it's important.
You're right.
I don't want to just hit the highlights because everyone sees the highlights. I need everyone to understand that along the way, just like I did. I mean, 15, I barely made it out of high school. Yeah. I got into the entertainment scene. I wanted to be the best promoter, nightclub owner. I got ambitious at a very young age.
Yeah.
Then when I got into university, I got accepted to both San Francisco and San Jose. I chose San Jose because it reminded me of LA.
Nice.
And on my fourth year, my graduating year, I walked into class and something clicked. I said, what am I? I'm in debt. I'm making already money, but I'm using student loans to pay for school because I didn't want to use my money to pay for school.
Yeah.
So, and then I just thought to myself, I'm like, I left. I dropped out. And I have some education, no degree to show that I have a formal education, but I have enough experience of life at such a young age that I'd rather have the experience and that version of education than having a paper saying that, okay, hey, you got a degree in X, Y, Z. How about I got a degree in global entrepreneurship life,
Yeah.
I don't know. So that's why I think it's important that people understand because, again, it'll resonate, right? And if it doesn't, maybe the next show, the next guest, I don't know. I think that it's important that people understand.
That's so true.
That we all have our walks in life and getting to where we're getting. It comes with peaks and valleys. And you then you jumped into the whole real estate world. Well, you jumped into it and you went like, you didn't feel happy about it. Well, you didn't feel happy because then you weren't being fulfilled.
Yeah.
That's how I'm translating it. And you're making the wealthier, and you're seeing second homes, third homes being bought. All right, well, let's roll it back.
Yeah.
So how do you pivot from that?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds like it's a good problem to have, because it's kind of you're in a successful path, because if you're helping wealthy people or others buying homes.
Yeah.
Commissions aren't cheap in the Bay Area. They're not small commissions. They're big commissions out here. So you're making money.
True. That's true. And I think the hardest part during that phase was, being able to help the wealthy, and having to say no to a family with kids that can't afford real estate, and say, hey, you can either save more money or you can make more money, but right now I can't help you unless you're going to have to move out of the area, really. And to break that news to people, like, that was so painful, because like I said, like, my struggle, like, at that end of the month and not having financial security, that, that's the problem I want to fix.
Yeah.
And that was what I was dedicated to fixing, right? And I don't care about the commissions or the money. Like, if I can help one family that was struggling like I was back in that day, that would be the most, like, rewarding thing for me.
It sounds like that's your purpose.
Yeah. And now it's like so fortunate to kind of see that unfold and help a lot of these families be able to get that first step. Because I think a lot of things, there's like a lot of advice from like 5 to 100 and whatnot, but that 0 to 1, those first few steps, it's hard, because when you're stuck in that rental rat race, you like, good luck trying to go from there to buying $1 million plus home.
Yeah.
Right. And nobody's servicing them. Nobody's taking the time to help these people be able to help their finances, to be able to get them ahead. Yeah. And that's the machine that I wanted to build.
I think what happens is that everyone gets caught up in the race too.
Yeah.
Right. So, and you get used to a certain lifestyle or a certain way of doing things, that the realtor that starts with a good intention to help the family. I mean, those are the cores. You want to have home ownership. You want to have the American dream and all this. But then once you start getting, and you start realizing that it is a tough business to get into.
Yeah.
I did a post the other day, or just recently on my Instagram, where it's a bunch of people on a raft, and they're coming down, and it says real estate is easy. You just got to go with the flow, and everyone's falling out of the boat. But it really is a tough business. And I think what happens is that as they get into the business cycles of real estate, they start to lose that original core motivation, their purpose. I know I did when I was in the nightclub business. I was excited as a kid because I used to see all 1,000 kids in the room and just and that I stand at the DJ or on the stage, and I'm looking at them like that made that excitement, that smile on their face made me happy, and it was fulfilling.
That's cool.
And then as I started to get older and start making more money, and then start knowing that I had to compete, that I was only as good as my last party, that it started to become a job, and I started to detach or become distant from that happiness, and then it became a job.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's when I did it for 25 years, and I just remember one day when I just fell out of love, I was like, it's not fulfilling me anymore. It's too much take, and no one was pouring back into me. So I could see how that happens in your universe, which then, you were sharing with me, you started focusing on more of the affordable housing, more on the opportunity of going back to that core.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big opportunity, but you really got to put some work into that, because we're in the Bay Area. Yeah. And right now, the medium house for a Bay Area in the Bay Area is 1.2 million, 1 million.
It's closer to 1.6 now.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I think the last thing I read was 1.4. Yeah, 1.4, 1.6.
Santa Clara County, it's about like just under 1.6. It's insane.
How crazy.
Yeah.
Even in the East Side.
Exactly.
All those East Siders are all millionaires now. Right? But the crazy part I think about, and when you talk to some of the people that are living in those areas, their homes are paid off. So they're sitting on $1 million something.
Yeah.
But if they sell it, they're going to get taxed. And if they sell it, where are they going to move to?
Exactly. Yeah.
So they're sitting on, if anything, it's a good little nest egg to sit on.
Yeah.
But what happens there? Like, what is the next what happens next for the city, the communities, like just what happens. I mean, there's, some people are, I know one of the realtors that I actually work with, she's focused on probate stuff.
Yeah.
So she's seen a lot of probate business in different parts of the Bay Area. She's a probate specialist, but yeah, it's interesting to see what happens. And then do families help families out? And I think that's probably where you're seeing now.
Yeah.
Is, what is that trend?
Well, yeah, I think first is like what I've observed, and you've probably experienced this too, is like basically what I didn't like was the imbalance of help, right? So like, like me and you, wealthy, let's say, everyone's fighting to help the rich and wealthy, but nobody's like working to help the, those that barely have enough just to kind of be able to afford housing. So that's what I want to do, build something that would really help people that are just making it enough to be able to afford something. I tried working with the government a little bit, didn't like that. Now it's like, how do we help those middle-class families? Because it's like, you can't buy, the sad news we were talking about, $1.6 million. You need to be making more than $230,000 a month just to qualify. And to do that, you need a 6-digit down payment.
Yeah.
People don't have that kind. There's a lot of people that don't have that.
Even if you're a first-time home buyer, you still need about 10%. And on the 1.6, that's $160,000.
Exactly. And that's insane, right? So I stumbled across mobile homes and I was like, shoot, what I thought mobile homes were, I was like Eminem music videos where it's just trailer trash, for drug dealers, whatever. And
that's the stereotype.
That's exactly
that's the perception of a trailer park.
Yeah. And can't come to find out, like people don't know there's over 60 mobile home parks sprinkled throughout this county. And there's so many units in each of these parks, and they're like families that are able to be financially stable in a key area because people live here because the jobs are nice, the schools are nice, it's a great area, but they're financially stable living in these homes, and the homes are not too bad either. Right. So now it's like, okay, how do we help these people be able to know that this is available? How do we help them buy into this, get the benefits of real estate, like we all know, which is like appreciation, tax benefits, being able to leverage a loan to build up their net worth. These are things they don't have access to because they can't afford single family homes. But by transitioning to a mobile home first, it helps them get that first step. Right. So we helped hundreds of people get in and out of mobile homes and get that step ahead. After that, I started asking, like, why are these homes have to be ugly, like with metal exteriors and stuff like that? So now we kind of became popular for building these sexy mobile homes.
There you go.
Which is like,
we'll have to show an example on the show too, of what these sexy homes look like.
So now it's like, these are 1,600 square foot homes, 12-foot high flat ceilings, quartz countertops.
Damn, that's bigger than my condo. I'm like, wow, that's cool. All right.
So this, and the average like newer mobile home is like now $350,000, which is much more affordable for a family versus the $1.6 million home, right? So now 10% of that, it's more attainable. It's $35,000 down for 10%. Their mortgage is going to be about like $2,500 a month. And then they pay a space rent, which is like a high HOA of like $1,100. Yeah. But they go
and
from
that's all
renting.
Tax deductible, by the way.
Exactly.
If you know how to manage money and you start learning, right? Because it's part of the process. You have to, there's got to be an education process.
Yeah.
And I think that if you educate them and you make them understand that, hey, not only are you, you may not own the land, but you own the building that's on top of this land. That land actually, that's a land lease.
Exactly.
That's actually 100% tax write-off if you know how to, if you do your stuff the way you should be able to.
Correct.
So
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you're totally right. But the thing is like you said, we need education, right? Because just like I was stuck in that rental rat race, and there's families right now that are stuck in the rental rat race that feel like one day I'm going to get a boost of income or a job that's going to get a boost, and I can one day afford a single family home, and they keep waiting for that moment, right? But you're stuck, and unfortunately, if you don't like get a step ahead and get progress, then you're going to be stuck forever. Wow. And I see that so often, right? And now it's like, hey, we all know, like, let's say the rent's $3,500 a month. You usually live there for about 5 years. All that money is gone. Yeah. You don't get any of that back when you move out. Yeah. You don't get any tax benefits. Now, if you transition that same payment to a single family home jump, you're going from there to like $8,000 a month, which is a huge jump with a high down payment. But if you go to a mobile home structure, 2/3 of that is going towards the asset that you own. You get tax benefits, you get to leverage a loan. And, at the end of the day, when we did our calculation, is like over the course of 5 years, you'll have an extra $90,000 of difference from appreciation and paying down your loan, just by switching from renting to owning a mobile home.
Yeah.
Right. And that $90K now becomes that nest egg for them to be able to, when they sell and move out, now I have gotten myself to a step where I can afford a townhouse. I can afford a single family home. And that bridge allows that American dream of home ownership become possible here.
Right.
So that's really, and seeing that happen so often is really a beautiful thing, because I know that every transaction is like the start of this family, and we're not helping. What's beautiful too is in these mobile home parks, you're not competing with investors like you are in real estate.
Yeah.
Right. So every mobile home in this county is owned by the person that lives there. It has to be their primary residence. That's what keeps it super affordable too.
Got it. And that's something that we're facing right now. It's a crisis, not only here in California but across the nation.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to keep up with the population growth. So that's part of the reason though too, is that in some areas you can't sprawl out anymore. These big single family home developments aren't happening anymore like they were back, 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you have to find creative ways to build high density housing, which means, going vertical, high rises. I mean, there's other countries that have done it for a long time and have figured it out. I mean, even other states. I mean, New York is, there's so many high rises. Chicago, all the major cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco. You have these high density areas, and it helped back then. But now we have to even get more creative now.
Yeah.
Because we just have to continue to stay ahead.
Yeah.
And now one of the biggest problems we have is a big population of the homeless, or unhoused, community. It's getting out of control. And it's because they don't have the, I don't know what exactly the way, they just can't afford to be in a home. So now they're, tiny homes there's so many different little segments in real estate that are popping up.
That's true.
And then you just got to figure out as a developer, does it pencil out, right?
Yeah.
Do you buy a piece of land, and then what's the best use for that piece of land? And that's where then again, the math has to math out, because if it doesn't, then that's when you start thinking, well, then we'll just move to Sacramento, or we'll move to the Central Valley. And then all of a sudden you start getting these sprawls out there, but how do you sustain that? Now you have, people that live in Los Baños that are traveling here to the Bay Area, an hour and a half drive commute just to work
all the time.
On a
just
day.
to chase that dream of the job, right?
Wow.
It's insane. Yeah.
I tell people, Silicon Valley, the Bay Area, here, San Jose, where we live, we're supposedly the richest in the country, smartest in the country, and yet we have one of the biggest homeless populations. So when I say that in front of a group of very intelligent people, they kind of, you can see the and I'm like, yeah, it's something that we really have to. How do we solve it?
Yeah, how do we figure it out? And we could talk for hours on that. But, there's a ton of infrastructure issues with, it's part why I didn't like in working with the government. Like there can be some obvious game changer moves that the government can help create, but it's not always, how do I say that? They make it hard for developers to develop,
right?
Which we know the obvious problem is housing. We know that housing is going up and it's getting more expensive to construct. It's getting more expensive for a family to get their home start.
Yeah.
But we're not actually making it easier to resolve that policy-wise. So
I can firsthand tell you right now in downtown San Jose, I'm working with a group we got 8 high rises that should have been broken ground already a long time ago. They're all delayed. Yeah. That it could help the housing problem that we have. It could create more density for the downtown core. We have a project in Oakland, the Oakland Coliseum project right now that's still it's one vote away. Not even the votes. It's one signature or one sentence away from finalizing, but that's just dragging. There's other projects that, again, the numbers, the cost of labor, the cost of goods, the cost of money, if they're all too high, the numbers just don't pencil out because there's only so much that you can push before it breaks.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of and people talk about it. Oh, I want to be a developer. I'm like, yeah, you want to be a developer until you do what a developer does, and the stomach you have to have.
Yeah.
In order
and
to,
the patience.
And the patience. Oh, key word, patience. You have to have the patience in order to be successful in that universe because it's crazy. I mean, all of real estate. It just we want to find a solution for everything because at the end of the day, we want people to be housed.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
Yeah.
And there's different versions of housing for different people. Everyone has a different. I love living in high rise. I will not live in a single family home. Period. Unless it's on a beach in Miami, I'm not, or even yet, I'd rather live 60 stories up in a penthouse in Miami, just looking down. That's the environment that I like.
Love that.
Because I want to be one. I don't want to have to worry about the grass. I don't want to have to worry about taking the trash out.
Yeah.
I'm like. I just want to. That's the version that I like. But then again, there's the people that feel that they want to own a piece of land. Mm-hmm. They want to. They feel they're convinced that that's their version of the American dream.
Yeah. Well,
and that's okay. I want that for them. There's nothing more than to having people happy with what they have or what they want.
Each person has their own different dynamics of what they need in that given time, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I love the mobile home space so much too, is because we are changing the way construction's done. Just like you said, construction's getting more expensive, labor is getting more expensive. Yeah. That's why we pump our YouTube of like how these homes are actually being constructed in a new way.
Yeah.
Because just like how cars were only originally built for the rich and wealthy in the past, it was only until they built it on an assembly line that they were able to maximize and build it at scale, right? And make it affordable for everyone. And that's what we're doing now is we're building housing in a factory in a controlled environment on an assembly line.
Wow.
So,
I've seen those versions of constructions being done. The modular building.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for over 100 years, we've been building homes the same way. We're transporting labor, we're transporting lumber and material and skills all to one site, building it, going back home, going back and forth, right? Now, when you're in a factory in an assembly line, you can have an electrician working on 4 different homes the same day. You can have the HVAC people all working, maximizing the output as much as possible. Not only that, we have less waste, less transportation cost of lumber, of material, and you can create process. It's just like how cars are doing with their pieces. You're cutting down the cost to a significant amount.
Yeah.
And by doing that, we're really able to, build something at the end of the line that's still very high quality, but at, a fraction of the cost, usually less than a third of the cost of a single family home construction on site.
Where are you building
which is
that
huge.
now?
Right now, Corona, California.
Okay.
And then it gets delivered, obviously there's, I'd say 85% of it gets built there, and then we still have to do work on site.
Okay.
So we transport it here. It usually comes in 2 pieces, and we put it together.
So when you bring it up here, you're trucking it up here.
Yes.
And then you assemble it, finish it up here.
Exactly.
You have the foundation, everything ready to go.
Yeah.
And then just boom, plop it in.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I went to a factory in Vallejo. There was where they were building these modular apartments, and they were just building them in sections. And it was interesting to see how everything was being. Everything was being done. Electrical.
There's
HVAC.
one that was built right here on 87.
Right.
Yes.
There's that or off of 280.
Oh, you're right. 280. Sorry.
280. Yeah. There's one that I saw that was just being. They were bringing in the just plopping them.
I know the people that built that. Yeah.
Damn, that's cool. That was a cool project.
But that's the future of housing. It seriously has to be.
There has to be. You can't. I don't want to say we can't build on site because we can.
Yeah.
But if it means that we can become more efficient and speed up the process.
Well,
but then again, politics gets involved, right?
It does.
Because then you have trades, right? You have the trades that get involved. You got the different unions that get involved because everybody has to protect. Then we have to protect the people.
Yeah.
Right. Because then all of a sudden everything's being farmed out. What does it do for the economics in the area?
Yeah,
right?
but
so interesting.
It's super interesting. I think the thing too, when you talk about the trades, the sad truth is it's only getting worse and worse.
It is.
Like our laborers are all 40 years old and older, and we don't have young people that are excited about working with a hammer or doing labor, right? So we're only getting less and less of that.
Crazy, man.
So,
not here in the United States, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get that somewhere else because they just want to work and make and earn, right? But here, we've become such a consumer that it's while we were talking, I started thinking of like, I'm going to reach out to one of my unions, the local carpenters union, because it's really important right now to start getting back to the basics of getting people into the trades. Yeah, we need to, especially during this housing. I mean, there's such a shortfall on labor that's partly why the cost of labor is going so high, because just like anything, supply and demand. Yeah. You don't have enough, but what you do have, you're willing to pay X amount for this, then it's crazy. All the little components that affect where we're at right now in the housing. This housing crisis we're having.
Well, all of those. What sucks is a lot of those levers, having less people to be able to work on it. The politics have a big part of it. The materials prices going up. Yeah, all of those.
It's like a commodity.
Yeah, and we think this is a bad world right now where housing affordability is tough. It's only going to get worse with the way it's going, honestly. So something drastic has to change, and just like you said, is the way we build housing has to change. Yeah. The way we handle policy in high density areas has to change. Yes. It's something I'm really passionate about, but at the same point, it's like, to what level can we make an impact on,
Before we lose our marbles,
Exactly. So, but it's nice to be able to help so many people in San Jose, and we've opened in LA and done a lot of that stuff and work with them directly. And just like you, we want to help more and more and grow that avenue as much as we can.
LA is going to be an interesting market with all the fires and all the devastation that happened down there, all the properties that were lost. Yeah. I mean, there's there's blocks and blocks and blocks just gone, wiped out. Not only in the areas where, the not so affluent people, and then the areas where they're just like mega mansions are just gone. And it's just interesting to see what's going to happen. Yeah. Because there's people that are they're selling their land, or they're not coming back to rebuild, because it's going to take a very long time to get back to a certain normal there. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. And that's also created a big vacuum effect of what's, the amount of labor that's going to be needed to build. There's only so many contractors in California, and there's only so many projects. If these are individuals, I mean, that's a whole, but there's opportunity. Yeah. There's opportunity, and I think that it's someone will find it and see it and act on it and make it happen.
Yeah, we have a few jobs from that fire. Did
any mobile home parks get affected in Southern California?
Yeah, about three of them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's two that we built that did end up burnt down. But yeah.
Didn't burn down or burned down?
It did.
No, did.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And what do you call it? There's a big contrast. With the old homes, they burn very quickly. With the new ones and the new fire codes, it does burn, but it takes a lot longer. But that fire was so intense that it burned so many people's houses down. And we have a bunch of orders that want to construct. Because what's crazy is building, and I've built single family homes, building a single family home, best case scenario sometimes takes about like 14, 15 months, right? Now, if you told me
that's an average size home too, by the way. That's probably like 2,500 square feet, if that.
Exactly.
I mean, it takes time.
And exactly. So now we just beat our record, like in mobile home parks, because we don't have to deal with the politics as much. We've beat our record and built a home in less than 3 months. So from start of the order to completed, we scraped the old home. We're working on the foundation and everything simultaneous to building that home in the factory. And, we're compressing the timeline of what it takes to build a home into a shorter amount of time. And, and being able to complete the home finished in 3 months. It's a huge, it's a huge feat to be able to build it that fast. And not enough people know how effective and fast we can build. But that's, like we were saying, is like that type of change is what we need to be able to do more frequently and more often. Because if it could potentially only take 3 months to build, why is the reality of it taking 18 months to 2 years? And a big
build
part
a house.
to build a house.
It's crazy because
part of its policy.
It takes us about 18 months to build a high rise. So I mean, but that's almost a floor and a half a day, or every 2 days. You're. But then you have the interiors. That's how long it takes to build a high rise. Imagine you're building a house. It's same amount of time, except this time we're going vertical.
Yeah.
Because all you're doing is just step and repeat, stack. In the house, there's so many different dynamics, so many moving parts.
Yeah.
Same moving parts that are in here, but it's just I don't know. It's a wild world, man. So, aside from real estate, what else have you dabbled in the past? Or is this real estate just been your passion?
That's been my biggest focus, is kind of showing the world how beautiful mobile homes could be, breaking those stigmas.
We're rebranding.
Exactly.
Rebranding that mobile homes are actually cool.
Yeah, exactly. So
you heard it here first. Seriously.
And they really are. And we make cool, like you saw that music video thing we made. We try to make it exciting. You do a good job of branding and that type of thing, but we do that through video. People follow our YouTube stuff around the importance of it. But yeah, it's really just been trying to tell the stories around there. I love doing video stuff. That's always been my thing. I always envy what you're doing with this type of thing. I love supporting small businesses, that type of thing. We did have our Franco Silicon Valley channel that we did a lot of content for.
That was the channel. There we go. I remember that channel.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that... it was interesting because when I first started Mauricio Mejia Live a few years ago, when during the pandemic time is when I started it. But then I remember your thing was just getting the Franco Silicon Valley was booming.
Yeah,
and you were showcasing a lot of businesses, man.
Yeah, thanks.
If anything, I saw that was you. It was almost like giving them like life back. Like, yo, guys, like let's go. Like let's go, because people just got stuck.
Yeah.
Stuck. And they thought it was the end of the world. And I get it. We didn't know what we didn't know, but we're here.
Yeah.
We're here. We're thriving. And it's till the next problem comes, because there's always going to be something that's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's just as I've gotten older and wiser, I want to say, I've just realized that just life has an interesting way of just coming at us, man.
Oh, totally.
Woo,
yeah,
man.
But very similar to your like clubbing, and parties, right?
Yeah.
Those videos were getting people to go out, try new food, try events, and seeing people like be able to like be inspired to go try a restaurant and connect more. Because I feel it's kind of weird in San Jose, but like people are shy to like network or meet people as close as we live together, but people need to go out more and like connect with more people. Like that's
San Jose's more kickback. I mean, I think when you compare us to like San Francisco or Los Angeles, I mean it's San Diego. I mean, there's different versions, and I think because we're so focused on tech here, you have a lot more introverted people versus people that want to go out. But I'll tell you, man, nightlife here in the South Bay, whew, man, it's jumping. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. And that's why I like doing the channel, because like people were excited to go out. It brought that energy.
Yeah.
And it made people excited to kind of do something.
Yeah. It's interesting to see how things are gonna develop this coming year as well. Obviously there's a lot of things happening in this world that just kind of makes you wonder. But hey, we gotta keep moving forward and just got to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
What's the game plan for you right now for this year? What's the plan?
Yeah. So we're launching that LA stuff. We're really trying to find more partners to do what we're doing here in other metro areas. So San Diego's now our next target.
And 100% focused on mobile homes. That's kind of like that's kind of your niche. Mm-hmm. You're going to
Yeah, because I
don't think there's anybody, I don't want to say there's anybody, but I mean there's not too many people or anybody maybe just doing that, huh?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not to, I wish, I support anyone that that would do it. And that's why we try to like put a lot of our educational stuff out there. Because even if it's not through us or whatever, I truly mean it. Like the more that we have support around mobile home space, the more families get to thrive from that.
Yeah.
Right. And the overall impact,
it's a affordable housing component. It's probably one of the last versions of affordable housing.
It is.
And that's why they've been protected. Because developers, there's a lot of, they want to say wasted land, right? Because they can actually, if they were to remove everybody there, then they built high density, you can get more per square footage, but you lose community, you displace communities. You know, how do you do that without having any kind of sympathy or empathy for these people? Just like, you just gotta, so I see that there's a lot of protection, a lot of, things. So why not get creative?
Yeah.
Right. You seem to have found that niche and say, all right, well, how do we bring sexy back to these things? Because they were sexy at one point. Obviously, everybody was doing it back in the days. But I think really it was to fulfill a housing crisis that also was happening back in those times.
It was the fastest way to build. It was, and that's what, when they were bringing jobs here, that was the fastest way to build back then. Yeah. And they executed it well.
And really it was a version of temporary housing, kind of like what you're talking about right now. It's your first, if you can afford a regular house, then great. But if you can't, this is your first step. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to be permanent housing.
Yeah.
But for some, it has become, because it has.
Exactly.
So
exactly. And it's allowed teachers to be able to stay in this area, a lot of these blue collar workers to be able to stay and comfortably in this area and keep families here. Mm-hmm. Right. And that's what we have to show the world what this is. And, it was originally temporary housing, but because of, how difficult housing is here, like you said, people made it permanent. Yeah. And now we're building more and more permanent structures too.
I think once the NIMBYs got involved too, not in my backyard. Yeah. I think that's where a lot of the influence kicked in slowing things down. You see that even today, and then now there's the YIMBYs, the people that want those kinds of, because they see the benefit of having populations in cities and communities.
So NIMBY's not in my backyard for those people that don't know. But the key thing that I feel like with that is because they have a lack of understanding what it really is. They think mobile home park in my backyard. Heck no, I don't want drug dealers. I've watched Breaking Bad, blah, blah, blah. Right?
I saw Eminem 8 Miles.
Exactly. So it's that lack of empathy around that space that causes people to be afraid of that. Right?
Perception again.
Exactly.
We gotta rebrand it and make it look cool again. And I think that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah. But like you said, I would love to start getting back into the small business feature stuff like what you're doing eventually. But we're keeping up with the mobile home stuff.
No, man, that's a great market. I think what you're doing is important. And I think that it's something that needs to be done. It needs to, because if they're not going to find another version or another solution, then we might as well make it look better or enhance it, and take advantage of some of these opportunities that are there, because I mean, they're not going anywhere.
Exactly.
And right now, again, going back to the cost of living here, to have somebody that works on the back end at a restaurant or in the hospitality, they're probably most likely not homeowners yet.
Yeah.
But they need a place to start and a base on where to begin. And, if that's where they begin, that's where they begin.
Exactly.
I asked you earlier about financing for mobile homes. I know that in the financing world, it is pretty difficult to get a regular mortgage on that, or bank to loan on it. How's that become now?
Yeah.
Is it a lot easier?
It's advanced a lot.
Okay.
People don't. I
like that word. It's advanced.
Well, before.
It's advanced, not by much, but it's advanced. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Forward progress.
So we still, now we have 25-year loans, which is a huge advancement from before. Before it was
interesting.
You
can finance a boat for 25 years and a motorhome for 25 years, or mobile homes were just they fell into that category, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So with that, it becomes a lot easier, and there's more and more programs that allow for big banks to be able to loan for this. Now it's never going to be as great as the single family home market. Right. But
Well, because the banks have a deed on your property.
Exactly.
You know, so you don't pay, they come in, you don't own the house.
yeah,
They own everything because it's attached to the land,
Yeah.
and the land is theirs until you pay it.
exactly. So a lot of people will frown on saying like they're a percentage or a point and a half above like single family home interest rates. But the key thing is like where you're at now specifically. Like if you're all renting right now, then having a 7% mortgage or an 8% mortgage is a little bit better than a full rent model, right? So if you get a 25-year mortgage on a mobile home and, you know, pay that 7%, it's, you know, at the end of the day, you're 5 years when you move out, you have an asset you can sell, and you still have the appreciation from that. You get the benefits from that. And then you get to buy single family home, get a mortgage for like 5, 6, whatever.
Let me ask you, how do they value? Does value go up on mobile homes?
They do.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's crazy because they average in this county about 11% a year, which is
that's
in
not
the
bad.
past like 3-4 years, which is huge. So like a $300,000 home you'd get $30,000 appreciation in 1 year.
Okay.
Right. So you bought in at 300, you sell we have so many people that sell like a year or two after and have made a good amount of money from it. And all the financial education and understanding, like like a lot of people are afraid of a down payment. It's like, I don't want to spend $40,000, whatever. But if you actually reframe how that works, your money, it's, you know, just because you put that as a down payment on the home, that's still your money. It's not an expense that you don't get back later. Right. And these are these tactics that I didn't know when I was poor, that I didn't understand, you know, back then. But now that I understand, like, you're right, I'm just holding it kind of like my own little bank.
Yeah.
Right. You put that as a down payment and your cash flow is going towards an asset that you own, and you get it back when you sell it later. Right. So that's their nest egg. But once you start to understand that, then it becomes like, shoot, why am I renting for 5-10 years? Right. And whereas you can have something that you are paying down a debt. Yes, you're paying interest, but you're paying down your debt, and that amount goes to your pocket at the end of the day when you sell it.
Yeah.
But if you reframe that understanding, because the truth is, even if you go to college and finish a lot of this stuff, they don't teach you these things.
No.
And you know,
They need to teach this. They need to teach us that in high school.
Yeah.
And they need to teach us financial literacy in junior high.
yeah, and I wish they taught me that, right? And if they did, I would have been far better off.
Yeah.
But you know, I wish there's so many of these things that I only learned from wealthy people or from YouTubes and stuff like that. And I wish that I learned it at school. And I feel like sometimes school is a little bit overrated as far as education. It's like, don't focus on school and school alone. Focus on where else you can impact your life a lot better. You know, where are these areas that I can invest in real estate or stocks or whatever that tool is for you. But like, don't put 100% of your energy on only school and, you know, and only career even sometimes.
Well, I think that there's a reward for those that have committed to education. They're, you know, obviously they're in those that are educated and have that degree from can be from multiple schools. Obviously have not everybody, because I know some people that got multiple degrees and can't get a job if their life depended on it. But you know, they get those, you know, high level positions because of a degree. But you're right. I look back at my career and where I've gone. It's hadn't I left school and really took that risk, I wouldn't have turned on that survivor mode or that switch in me that said, "All right, let's go. Let's get out.
Execute.
Let's turn into beast mode, monster mode, whatever it may be. Let's execute." And let's really see how badass we are, because, you know, we at a young age we think that we're invincible and that we do know a lot because we're exposed to so much. And I think that for the industry that I was in at the time, I was very prepared for it. I was like, you know what, I'm ready. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
And at the same time, because of my ambition, I didn't just want to be that. I wanted to be more, and I wanted to get in order to build that kind of massive wealth that I wanted, or that I manifested and envisioned. I did real estate. I learned real estate at a young age, at least the process, the transactions, the value of it.
Yeah.
And I used to always thought it's the funny tagline that I shared with people. It's in Bruce Wayne during the day and Batman at night, because I was At night, I was in nightlife, and during the day, I was that businessman. They wanted to build that empire.
Exactly. No, totally. And you touched on this in your book about like part of why people fear execution is that big emphasis on a fear of failure, right? And I think what people don't understand, it's not like one big devastating moment and that's the end of your life. Like failure's that way, right? So once you understand,
it feels like it.
And that fear is a real fear that people have.
Yeah.
But the truth is, you execute, you have a small failure, you pivot, and then you build something else to execute on. And not being too fearful or giving that fear too much power or the fear of failure too much power can really get you ahead. And that's something that I had to fight my psychology in doing. Is like, hey, I could stick to doing real estate, I could do that, but that drive to want to make an impact is what helped me bump past that fear of failure. Like now I get all these very hard moments where, that I have to go through, we're out of money, a project failed, whatever it is. But you know what? Like if it were the old me, that would devastate me and whatever. But when I know that if I get through this, I'll be able to help a family be able to get their home start and build stability. That's what fights me to get past those hard days. Yeah. Right.
Oh, I've had those hard days, man. I'm like, oh man, how are we going to pay this? Or how is this going to happen? Or damn, this client owes me this. And so it's always a constant.
Yeah.
And if you choose, right, because it's a choice to be the head of your company, the leader, whatever it may be, it's your choice. You have to. It comes with responsibility, and that's what I tell people. I'm like, it's cool to have the CEO or CFO, whatever title you want next to your name, but if you're not acting on that title, then it means nothing. It's just show.
Yeah,
it comes with a lot of responsibility. I've surrounded myself with some super mega wealthy people, and one of the common things that I've heard them when they talk about it is like, Mauricio, we don't own money. We are caretakers of money. We are stewards of money. So our goal is to keep it moving, to keep it growing, to keep it making an impact. Once I started to understand that, my thinking, because before all we're thinking is exchange, right? Time for money. Right? Or product for money. For every event, I was thinking like, oh, this is, it was just. But when you start thinking of money as a vehicle, as something that you can use for different things, the perception it does a lot, man. It did for me, and I know that in the last 5 years of being mentored by these great people. I know that my outlook now has completely changed.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm flying at that level.
Love it.
I tell me I'm flying with other eagles right now, and it's kind of lonely up here, but you look down and I'm like, yeah, I kind of like it up here.
Yeah.
I do. And you get accustomed to it because you're seeing, when you look back, you're like, and you temporarily look back, you're like, man, look what I left behind. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what you're doing. It's, you look back and you're like, how many families did I make an impact? How many communities am I building? And as you're looking forward, you're like, oh man, look at what's ahead. Mm-hmm. I always try to stay in the present because that's what we're in. And so today we're focusing on this, and, we're going to build this. But we also, again, you just have to have, like, it's multidimensional thinking, man. We're gonna go into some quantum thinking here. My brain is gonna start, but that's the way I think, right? I mean, because that's what I want to do. I want to do things on a grander scale, and I think what you're doing right now is, it's a grand scale, and it's giving people that opportunity, that first step, into whatever whatever their future holds. Everyone has a different path, man. So, just crazy, man. What do you do for fun, man? Any hobbies or anything like that?
Man,
it seems like too much work over here, man. Yeah, anything?
Well, I love traveling.
You're not content creating anymore, man. I enjoyed watching your stuff, but go ahead.
Thanks a lot, man. I travel a bit. I try to go to Vietnam and Philippines, like occasionally.
My friends want me to go to Cebu. Right?
Yeah, you should go.
Yeah, there's some festival like in like January or something. I don't know. They're like the big festival. And they're like, Mauricio, you're not going to come back. You're going to fall in love. I said, oh man. They're like, I've heard this is beautiful out there.
Yeah, I got friends out there. If you ever want to go out there, can help show you all the places and everything. But
Nice.
what's interesting for like I was talking about earlier is like I love going there and shifting my mindset, because you go there in the Philippines, you have so many people that are super happy, super grateful, and then you come to find out about their life, and they're making like $2 an hour. They live in a metal shed.
Oh my God!
But how is it you're so happy, so grateful, and have nothing, right? And then you go here.
But that's perception.
Exactly.
That's perception, man. Because when I go to my country, El Salvador, it's the same thing. I go there and people are happy. They're giving, and I'm like, and they're only making X amount, and I'm like, and they're happy.
Yeah. So,
I'm like, perception.
Just by being there, like it comes my like reset. It's like, man, I should, because you live in a place for too long, you start to have the same stresses. It's like, am I not good enough, or like is what I have enough, or whatever. Yeah. But traveling and having that and experiencing that, I feel like makes life a lot better. It makes you understand life a lot better too.
It gives you perspective.
Yeah,
it gives you a perspective of what's happening in other parts of the world, because we get so accustomed to being spoiled.
Yeah,
in the things that we have here, and the just what we have.
Yeah,
so we don't realize it until we go to other parts of the world. I love to travel too, and I went to Peru, and Peru was, I got to see where people are. They have the bare minimum, and they're happy. Obviously, I think that they want more. It's just a different path, right, to get there. So, but the appreciation and when I come back home, I'm reset too. Yeah. I want to do more. Yeah. Right. And then I want to go back, and I want to go help them. And then so there's a lot of things that fuel me. But at the same time, just it's a lot, man. It's a lot. I think you and I both have a common trait. We want to help others. We want to see others be successful.
Exactly.
And that's really what I thrive off too. Is I want to see you be very successful in what you do, and if whatever we can do to contribute. And again, whether it's through this podcast, through this relationships. I continue to ask about this funding, because I just started a fund 3 weeks ago. I've been very excited about this. I've been manifesting this for some time, and I have access to $100 million worth of funding for real estate or business opportunities. And now I can talk about it because we're actually executing on it now.
I love that.
So for me, I'm that guy that says, well, what can we get involved in? And I tell everyone, I cast the net far and wide, and I said, let's throw things at me and let me run it by my team, because we just never know what we don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that certain things, are financeable, and some things are just not. And a lot of the stuff that we're working on right now is tied to real estate, because it goes back to real estate is a tangible. It's something that it's real. Real estate is land or property, something that you can attach to it, and there's value to it, because real estate keeps going up. So that's how the fund is that I'm working on, working with right now. It's leveraging real estate, and then business, existing businesses that have, healthy, growth. And, maybe we'll tap into some startups, but right now I want to catch all that, everything that's available right now here, being in this area. Yeah. So actually we're not limited to here. I'm doing stuff right now. We're looking at, hotels across the United States, on the East Coast that we're working on right now to fund some developments out there. So it's exciting, man. It's exciting. It's, I don't want to say it's not scary, but it's something that, I asked for it, I got it, and now I'm like, it's here. Yeah. So now I have to, it was something that I've been talking about for some time now. So
congrats.
We got to continue to manifest,
Yeah.
So
I love that. That's amazing.
The younger you look back, you're not that. I know you're not that old. I'm probably a lot older than you. What would you tell your younger you, or what would you tell the younger generation that's coming up? What's some words of wisdom that we can get from you? Because I know you got it in you, man. You got that fight in you.
That's a big question. I think What comes to mind is focus on impact. I think a lot of people, it's very attractive to chase dollars, chase money a lot, right? And there's so many things on social media, like how do you make a quick dollar or whatever. But I found that never to really drive me. What I've found is the impact that you create in people. Yes. There's so many people out there that are not as inspired by money, or it could be money short term. But if you actually find out like where you can make an impact and you feel that and you actually make an impact, it becomes this whole flywheel effect of how do I make more of an impact, right? And just like with you, just like with me, is like, how do we build value? And that's what drove me. It had nothing to do with having money or like dollars or whatever, commission or whatever it is. Right. It was always about how do we help a family? How do we help hundreds of families? And that chasing that impact is what forced me to grow, forced me to be resourceful, forced me to figure things out, like whatever it took, that whatever it takes drive to be able to succeed. And I think understanding that and finding that drive in building an impact, I wish more people could see that and find that within them to kind of build.
3 words you were to tell somebody. What are your hot buzzwords? What do you?
How's that work? 3 words that I would
like. For me, it's decide, commit, execute, or assess, address, move on. They call me the 3-word king, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. What would be something that for someone that let's say is looking at the real estate as a career, or development, or something. I mean, it applies to everything. What is that drive for you?
I think back to impact has to be one of the words. I think resourcefulness is something that's underrated. Great. Like you can have all the resources in the world we do now, but people don't know how to use it. Right. So that's one big thing is like, so there's so much education, there's funding out there that you can tap into, but if you're not resourceful, you can't do anything. Yeah. The third is, mindset, I feel like
okay. I was going to say you don't have to have one, but you came in hot. I love mindset. Yeah.
I think, if you understand how your mind works, how other people's mind works, you can get through a lot of things and you can really change the world. So I feel like those would be my 3 words.
Nice. Change the world. I like that too. At the end, we're always, I think that is part of our purpose and our goal is we want to make an impact. Yeah. And making that impact helps change the world. So,
love that.
Good, man. Well, hey, I got to tell you, thank you so much. Time flies, man. We can go on for hours and hours here.
I know. We should hang out more often. Why?
Hey, anytime, man. Anytime. After 3 o'clock, after my golden hours, and that's what I call it. That. 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. is my golden hours. I just focus. Anytime after that, I go and kind of decompress. Yeah. But yeah, anytime. No, I want to say thank you because, and thank you to your team for reaching out. I think that you were on the radar a long time ago, and to actually have you here, awesome. It's an honor, and thank you because I know that you were already making an impact way before I started developing this show. So thank you also for being an inspiration. Yeah. Because it adds, right? It's all the little things that we get to watch along the way. That make an impact on us. So you've made an impact as well, and want to thank you. So
we have so many similarities, and I want to thank you too because, like I said, this makes a difference for a lot of people. Yeah. People that listen, whether it's this show or another, it helps. It helps a lot of people that want that inspiration too. So
well, we're gonna continue the conversation. Once you start developing in LA, we're gonna circle back. I'm opening up an office in LA right now for one of my other businesses. So we're definitely gonna connect on that one. So, good. Well, thank you again. And if people want to reach out to you, how can they reach out?
Yeah, all of our links are at www.franco.tv. It has our YouTube channel. You can see our sexy mobile homes. You got 3D renderings and stuff.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, for those that don't know what it looks like, definitely check it out because it's something not to ignore. It's not trailer trash anymore.
I want to be part of the rebranding of that because that sounds like it's going to be kind of fun. You know, I mean, even what we named the show today. I mean, it's like bringing. I hear the bringing sexy back. I can hear that melody on a trailer park. Just kind of bringing sexy back.
I love it.
Anyhow, man, thank you so much, and I look forward to following up and circling back and seeing see where life takes us.
Sounds good.
All right.
Like, comment, subscribe. Mauricio Mejia live on YouTube.